Good morning, everyone. It's January 13th at 9 a.m. and this is the first quarter Drinking Water Advisory Work Group meeting. We have a pretty packed agenda today, so I'm going to keep it short. My name is James Lamana. I'm the Special Assistant for the Water Supply Division. We'll go through some program updates, presentations here at the end, and then follow up with any open questions. Just to get it out of the way, the next work group meeting will be Tuesday, April 14th. The other days for the remaining DWAWGs will be on the webpage, and we'll keep with the registration link on there as well. For folks attending in office, please just make sure your microphone is muted and your speakers are off so we don't get the double feedback. Otherwise, we should be good to go. So first up, we're going to start off with the Texas Water Development Board with some funding updates, and I believe we have Scott with us.
Yes, good morning. Can you see me and hear me?
We can hear you.
You can't see me?
I will work on that. But
I see myself in the screen, but that's fine.
Go ahead and start talking.
Well, good morning, James. Thank you, and appreciate the invitation to come speak to the group. It's always a good group to get our message out to. I'm Scott Galloway, outreach specialist at the Texas Water Development Board, and I have my teammate with me also, Keta Cabrillo. She's on the call too, and we always enjoy coming to this group and again presenting details about funding programs. Sharing my screen. Have a few slides on a PowerPoint. That up. Go. So exciting times at the Water Development Board for funding for sure. And my team and we really try to be a resource for local communities, especially rural and small communities that don't have a lot of resources, helping them navigate through the process of applying for Water Development Board funding. Now, we will work with any utility, but kind of our main focus is those small rural communities that just need a lot of assistance. But we're also ambassadors for anything TWDB related. So please get our contact information. If you ever have a question about any program or activity at Water Development Board, we'll be happy to point you in the right direction or answer questions for you. So jump right into this. This is a list of our most popular funding programs at the Water Development Board. I think everyone probably knows that all of our funding programs function on, or most of the Water Development funding programs function on an annual cycle that closely follows the state fiscal year. We have an open solicitation period every cycle, accept applications, process those applications, and then close on the funding, and then we just repeat the process the next year. So typically, application solicitation period starts in December, started mid-December this year. Significant due dates are February 2nd for the SWIFT program, State Water Implementation Fund for Texas. That particular program is tied to the water supply planning groups, the regional water planning groups, and then the state water plan. If you are interested in accessing that particular fund, you have to participate in the planning process. But the reason I'm showing this particular slide this morning is I want everyone to make sure they understand that things change from year to year, cycle to cycle. Sometimes all of these programs are funded, other years only a portion of them funded, and then details change from cycle to cycle. That's the main point that I want to drive home with showing this list. Big news for the Water Development Board is new funding legislation. Proposition 4 was passed by the voters back in November. There were numerous bills that created Proposition 4. And I'm sure most of people have heard this made a lot of media attention back in the summer and in this fall too. And still today, a lot of media attention on this funding. But it's $1 billion annually for the next 20 years for water supply projects. And it is a sales tax carve-out from the Comptroller's Office dedicated to the Water Development Board for water supply projects. And as you can see on one of the bullet points, there are numerous guardrails and safety features on the fund. One of the biggest one the state of Texas has to accumulate $46.5 billion before the Prop 4 dedicated funds make its way to the water development. The big news, though, on this one is 50% for new water supplies and 50% for aging infrastructure. So we all know about the aging infrastructure and how much demand our drinking water systems need across the state. But then the other exciting thing that I want to highlight is the new water supplies. These funds are expected to be available to local communities starting in the fall of 2029, and the money will be deposited, so to speak. The new dollars will be deposited, so to speak, in existing financial assistance programs. And that's important because all of our existing financial assistance programs, they're well-defined, well-documented, rules, policy, all the details are in place. So it's really exciting just to have a kind of a cash deposit into these existing funds. The new water supplies is something I wanted to highlight. Desalination projects, marine and brackish water, produced water from the oil and gas industry, aquifer storage and recovery, a lot of focus on both drinking water and wastewater reuse projects, and then acquisition of water rights. Those are considered new water supplies in the state or for the local drinking water systems. So that's exciting that this new funding can address some of these innovative technologies for water supply. The other one is reservoir projects. Reservoirs are eligible, but I think that there's really a great requirements for new reservoirs, and that is the land has to be already acquired by the local entity who's going to construct a reservoir. In addition, permits have to be in place. So your Corps of Engineer, Clean Water 404 permitting, and then even TCEQ permitting. Those have to be in place in order to access this new water supply funding. And then as you can see too, also infrastructure transport of water, typically not fresh groundwater, but more brackish water for infrastructure transport. So how does the funds work? Basically, it goes into the Texas Water Fund. The Texas Water Fund was created back in 23 from some legislation, basically an umbrella type fund that makes deposits into existing programs. It's a little chart just to kind of show how those funds would flow into the existing programs that we offer. And as again, the very first slide, I listed a variety of different popular programs that we offer. The big news here this week and last week, starting last Monday on the 5th, is House Bill 500. It's a water supply and infrastructure grants program. 100% grant for drinking water systems. Very unusual for the Water Development Board to have a 100% grant program. Typically, our grants are just a carve-out portion. Typically, there's a loan component associated with the local utility, but this particular funding is a one-time cash infusion for 100% grants. And political subdivisions are eligible. Water Supply Corporation, investor-owned, private are ineligible for this particular program. This information was just published on our website last Monday. We're currently in a public comment period. I have some other slides coming up about that, but these are drinking water supply projects for a variety of communities around the state. I highly encourage you to take a look at the link. There's an implementation plan and details about this one-time grant program. But here's some of the highlights. As I mentioned, you have to be a political subdivision, be eligible, so it's going to be cities, districts, counties, other political subdivisions. Again, Water Supply Corporation, investor-owned, and private are ineligible. Here's a huge one here, the project requirements. It must address water loss. So these are drinking water systems that typically have a high water loss, so they must address water loss issues. TCEQ violations must be addressed if we have, and then provide additional water supply. It must be consistent with the 2027 State Water Plan. Another big one, especially for the small communities, some of these communities that really struggle, they have to have a current financial audit. My team and I run into communities all the time that they don't have an updated financial audit, and that's really going to hurt them if they don't have that for this particular grant opportunity. And then ready to proceed, especially if you're a large utility, you need to be ready to proceed for construction. Smaller communities can take advantage of the planning, design, and acquisition option components of the grant. But again, that's based on population. It's really for the smaller communities. Another huge one is canal projects, lining canals, especially in areas where have irrigated agriculture, of course. So there's some matching funds with NAD Bank, and all these details are in the implementation plan. And again, we have this public comment period going on right now. You can make public comments online, and highly encourage you to do that because we are interested in what the public thinks about this process. And we will use those public comments to kind of modify and shape the program. The funding allocation. So you can see here, there's a funding cap, a total target. These are draft or preliminary numbers. After we close the public comment period, and we'll go in and refine this particular grant opportunity, and it will go before our board of directors for formal approval, hopefully in February. But this is how we are proposing the funds be distributed. And you can see the big bullet point highlight or the asterisk that only one applicant or one application rather per applicant. And the applications are going to be online, and they have to be emailed to the Water Development Board. We have a designated water supply and infrastructure grant email list or account. This funding is so new, we did not have time to incorporate it into a website portal. So we're going back to the old-fashioned submitting applications, either Word or PDF document through an email system. The timeline, again, public comments started last Monday, the 5th. It closed on the 4th. There is a public webinar coming up on the 20th. I highly encourage you to take advantage of that. That webinar will be live, and I'm sure there'll be a recording of that webinar too posted on our website after the 20th. That will give you a lot of great insight on how this program is proposed by the Water Development Board to the public. We want to make sure we get a lot of great input and feedback from the stakeholders. Something that's extremely important for the local community is the application solicitation period. Right now it's proposed in July, or excuse me, open in March. Deadlines due in July, but those specific dates have not been established yet, but they will be after probably the public comment period. Dollars will be committed and then available to the local community starting in fall of 26. With our funding closing, that's our formal action by our board of directors to close the funds in the summer of 27. So this is a very accelerated timeline compared to most of the water development programs that we offer. So the idea from the legislature and our executives and leadership team is to get this money out into the communities that need it as quickly as possible. So that's one reason for the accelerated timeline. Next steps, I mentioned already, this is kind of summarizing that up, external stakeholder meeting on the 20th. I want to talk about the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. This, in the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, these are our two programs we've had since the 80s and 1990s, our most popular programs. Application solicitation period is open right now. Due dates are March 6th for submitting project information form. It's the initial form to apply for this funding. I think most of everyone in the room is very familiar with that or have worked on the SRF programs too, TCEQ's review side. That's just kind of a highlight of these particular programs. This year, in the last several years, we've had drinking water and the clean water state revolving funds offer 70% grant in the form of loan principal forgiveness and then a 30% loan component for the local utility. And these programs, of course, as everyone knows, are to address, health and safety concerns. Really, it's based on a scoring system. Communities that score highly in the application process are the ones that are most likely to receive the funding. Something else that's fairly new the last couple of years, the asset management program for small systems. This program provides professional services to local communities. And this is for communities that are small communities, have less than 5,000 meter connections or 2,000 people. Typically, communities are drinking water systems that just don't have a lot of resources. The due date has already passed for the local applicant. This is back in September, but of course, we have partnered with consulting firms to help develop asset management programs for the local communities. Able to help about 40 or so communities every year for this program. This will be our third application solicitation. So I just hope this program continues to grow and we're able to help more communities in the future. Just wanted to highlight that. And then the other one that's made a big change is Water Utilities Technical Assistance Program. The major change is that blue bullet at the bottom. Eligible entities are able to submit applications at any time. It's been a fairly recent change over this past few months. But again, we partnered with consulting firms to provide up to $150,000 worth of professional services. This program is a little broader in scope, not just asset management, but conservation plans, assistance with our TWDB's applications, both our abridged applications and the project information forms. And then rate studies, training, those type of things. So communities can submit an application anytime. Looks like we'll have 2 application approvals or closings every year. It's still kind of in the works, but it looks like that may be like every 6 months we'll close those applications. But the communities can apply anytime. So that's a huge new caveat requirement for this particular. Something that my team and I always try to emphasize, especially when we're working with the local water systems and wastewater systems, is what can they do today to help prepare for submitting an application to the water development. The first one is an independent financial audit. Is it up to date? We function like a bank. We're always going to want to see an independent financial and also a recent independent financial audit. We're going to do a credit analysis, the loan repayment pledge. That's huge. How, if a loan component is associated with the funding, how will the local entity or community pay us back? Will it be tied to water, wastewater rates? Typically, that's how communities fund the loan component, is with rates, but it doesn't have to be. We can accept any type of tax revenue. And if they are a large wholesaler, we can even accept water sales contract revenue as the loan rate. But those are some things that communities need to be aware of and thinking about when they're even applying for funding. And then another huge one is the self-reports to TWD. Are they up to date? Those are water use survey, water loss audit, and conservation plan. If drinking water systems aren't up to date with these reporting requirements, that stalls the application process. We will stall and pause the application process until the local community can provide 3 years worth of data on these water use surveys, water loss audits, and conservation. And those reports annually for systems with 3,300 connections or more And then if you're a smaller system, less than 3,300 connections, it's reporting every 5 years. But this is state law to submit these self-reports to the Water Development Board, even if a community never intends to come to the Water Development Board for funding. These are required for drinking water systems across the state. And also, plug for the water supply planning groups. This data is critical, feeds directly into the water supply planning process, starts at the local level, on great data from the local drinking water systems, because that feeds into the planning process and then eventually makes its way into the state water plan. Talk often and early with me, my team, or any folks at the Water Development Board. We're happy to try to give some guidance and help on how to access these variety of funding programs. Of course, on the website, a lot of great self-help material, guidance manuals, frequent answer question documents, some videos, stuff like that to try to help explain the process and procedures. Finally, this morning, just a couple of direct links. We have a great website, but just like TCEQ's website, you guys do such a variety of things, and we do also. It's easy to get lost, I guess, in navigating the websites. Just a couple of direct links to the Water Development Board topics we're talking about this morning. The other thing I wanted to highlight too is the financial assistance workshops. We do monthly in-person workshops around the state. We have this schedule available through the end of the fiscal year, through August 31. And so that's a great way to learn more about the financial assistance programs. We really drill down into timelines, eligibility, application process, and all those details to apply for funding for TWB. And then finally, the yellow highlight, subscribe to our newsletter. That is a great way to stay up to date on things like the water supply and infrastructure grant, due dates, timelines, any kind of changes, you'll be notified through our newsletter. It's a great way to stay up to date with all things TWDB, but especially funding. And things really have changed dramatically over the last couple of years with the new funding that we have. And we expect to even have more details coming forward, especially on the grant opportunity that I mentioned, and then POP4 funds as the implementation plan develops and matures too. So I'd be happy to take any questions now if we have time for that, James. And
yes, it looks like we have one question on how folks can register for the public webinar on January 20th.
Okay, if to register for the webinar, it's a great question. Go to the link for water supply and infrastructure grants, at House Bill 500 link, and there'll be a link there for accessing the webinar.
Okay, perfect. And any questions in the room? Okay, thank you, Scott. I'll get that presentation from you and post it on our website.
Okay, so thank you. All right, thanks.
Moving right along, next up we have the Office of Compliance and Enforcement with us, and Alyssa is going to be giving any updates today for them. Oh, if you can come up here just so they can hear you.
Morning. I'm Alyssa Pantuso. I'm here for OCE. Usually Kelly Sleeger is here, but she's out, so I'm filling in for her today. I'm going to give you guys the progress on some of our regions, or all of our regions. So regarding CCIs, or comprehensive compliance investigations, we've completed 492 CCIs for community facilities, and then 128 for non-community facilities. And then for complaint investigations, we've done 354 complaint investigations, and that is for both community facilities and non-community facilities. And then I just had one update for OCE, and that was that SBLGA has implemented the enforcement diversion program, and that has started in the late of last year. So basically, when TCEQ identifies a small business or local government with eligible violations during an investigation, qualifying facilities are referred to the TCEQ's SBLGA, or Small Business and Local Government Assistance section, for assistance. So you do have some qualifiers that you need to fall under, but this should help a lot of small businesses and local governments. And then so if compliance is achieved for all violations within that specific time frame, we will basically resolve those violations and TCEQ will not initiate enforcement. If full compliance is not achieved, unresolved violations will be referred to for further action. But yeah, if you guys have any questions on this, please refer to SBLGA directly. I'm happy to give you guys a phone number, email address, anything you need to contact them. But they will kind of be the main point of contact for any questions on that diversion program. Yeah, any questions?
Questions?
This is a short update.
So,
All right, thank you guys.
thank you so much. Thank you, Alyssa. Next up, we have occupational licensing, and I will adjust my camera.
Can you hear us just fine from here, or should we go up front?
Folks online, can you hear us?
Can you hear me okay? My name is Teresa Etheridge, and I'm with Occupational Licensing.
Yes, you're good to go. Thank you.
So as far as licensing updates are concerned, I don't have anything. I just wanted to open the floor in case somebody had any questions regarding licensing. Otherwise, if there are no questions, I'm going to pass the puck to my colleague over here, Kenny Smith, for some updates regarding the training team. Are there any questions that anybody had for me for licensing?
No questions in the chat.
Okay, then I'll pass it on to Kenny.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kenny Smith. I'm with the Occupational Licensing Training Team. Just a couple of quick updates. The training team will be seeking nominations for the Water Utility Operator Licensing Advisory Council, or WULAC. There will be a draft notice that will be published in mid-February. I believe the release date is February 13th, where the Texas Register is seeking nominations for service on that council. Another big update is a project we've been working on is a new training search page. It's a more user-friendly interface to allow our licensees to search for the training that they're trying to seek, whether it be for a new or renewal license. The new page will feature filter functions for program area, delivery method, things of that nature. And we're hoping that it'll come out at the tail end of this month or at the latest early February. As part of the previous legislative session, there was we're required to implement resiliency for water operators. So in compliance with that, we've added new resiliency questions to all the water or all the applicable water exams. And lastly, an update for our curriculum guidance. We're currently seeking to expand our curriculum guidance specifically for water, but also in addition to that, we will expand the curriculum guidance for all program areas. So that's one of the big projects the training team will be working on this year. Are there any questions for the occupational licensing training team?
And in the chat. Any questions in the room? Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Next up, we have our plan and technical review section, and we have Claire with us today.
Morning, everyone. I just want to go over a few updates. Nothing big from the plan and technical review section at this point. Just some staffing updates. So I'm sure for some of y'all, you interacted with Lacey Colgate. She was our special assistant for the section. She has moved on to another position. So we are working on filling her position currently at this time. And so I will have that new staff member here at the next meeting to introduce to everyone. A few other things. We are kind of talked about this before, but we are struggling to find engineers for our section. So we're down 4 engineer vacancies right now. Really what that means for y'all is that coupled with very high submittals means that that's causing some delays in our reviews. So we are working to address those things, really working to try to get some engineers on board, but just be patient with us. If you need something, reach out to the proxy box PTRS, and we can work to address concerns and things like that that you might have. Another thing I wanted to just make everybody aware of, as we go into the new year, lots of systems are eager to get rolling on projects. We've received a lot of requests for meetings in the past couple weeks. And while, y'all's projects are important to y'all and important to us, we're going to try to work any questions via email if possible, or phone call communication. If there's something that's, a little bit more unique and we need to have a meeting, we will work with y'all to, to have a meeting if necessary. But really the main goal for that is to try to focus on getting the work done, getting the projects reviewed. We don't want to pull away from time to work on those projects. So that's the goal there. And we will keep y'all posted on how that goes. Oh, it's just me. Any questions? Yes. I think Gulai is going to speak a little bit more too about some stuff going on in the program a little bit later, but any questions for me?
Right. Thank you, guys. All right, next up, moving right along, we have drinking water special functions, and we have Stephen.
Morning, everybody. Hello. Just a couple of quick things here. So one is our CCR compliance. All the letters have gone out. This year was kind of an extraordinary year in that we sent out over 900, almost 1,000 CCR violations. Those are the type 72 violations. That's basically for not doing your CCR correctly. A lot of systems had trouble with including their lead service line inventory information where there could be access to that kind of information. And also the UCMR results. It was pretty difficult for folks this year. I don't know why it was more difficult this year than previous years, but and then of course the perennial disinfectant residual. I know that nobody in this room had any issues with any of that, so thank you guys for your great work, and for all of you that are listening online, we'll work with you to get those violations cleared and get you ready for next year. Also wanted to thank everybody here for their hard work related to moving laboratories into the compliance monitoring data portal, CMDP. It was a big project, and we're just kind of in the last stages. We have a couple of small laboratories that we're still working with, trying to get them in. They don't report very frequently, and so they maybe feel a little bit less urgent about it. But I really appreciate everybody here having gotten in and gotten that done on time. It was amazing. So thank you all. We're going to start looking at what are the next things that we can get into CMDP. So some of the MORs, some of the field result data that you guys are collecting. So that's a much bigger and longer project that we'll be working. So just want to let you know that's on our horizon. Also, we are working on our transition to the drinking water viewer. You may have seen on Drinking Water Watch that the posted deadline for that was December 31st. We've extended that a little bit just to help everybody feel comfortable with the transition. We're all kind of used to Drinking Water Viewer or Drinking Water Watch. And it's really easy to find the stuff when we're clicking through it. There are some systems that, use it pretty extensively and pull data off of that. And so getting folks used to this new system for finding your data, looking at it has been a little bit more challenging. So we're slowing that down a little bit. We do have security concerns and wanting to get rid of Drinking Water Watch as soon as possible so that those things actually come to fruition. And then just a quick reminder, Mason's out in the field today, but he asked that I remind you all that we've got a public drinking water conference coming up. It's never too early to talk about public drinking water conference, right? So that's coming up in December. I just said December. I'm sorry.
August.
I was distracted. It's coming up in August. It'll be August 4th and 5th, 2026, and it'll be at the Renaissance again. We're looking forward to seeing you all in that. I think Sean was going to drop a link in. Looks like he's already done that, or when you all can access that, where you can find information out about Public Drinking Water Conference. So, looking forward to that. And then Jackie's going to talk about RG 659 related to connection count and population. That's a document that we've been working on for quite a while. I say it's really been Jackie's been doing the lion's share of the work on that document. And so we're excited to finally get it published and get it out. We made some pretty significant updates to it, and I'm pretty excited about that. And someone's asking a lot of questions.
You get some links from those drives.
Oh, it's links. Thank goodness. I thought you guys saved all your questions for me. Yeah, so those are all the announcements that I've got today. Are there any questions in the room? I'm sure there's questions here.
There's a question online about when will older data be populated in Drinking Water Viewer. So the answer was it should be the Drinking Water Watch and Drinking Water Viewer are the same.
Should be exactly the same.
And then who do we contact if something looks like it's missing? And Sean put a link in there in the chat.
Yes. Good. That's our SIDWIS. That gets you connected directly to our internal IT folks. So good. Any other questions? Yes, that is the single biggest thing that we're working on is that Google Map link that was from Kyle. So we internally, we really depend on that link, and we've been working with our contractor to have that added into this product. And so we'll keep you updated on when that's going to come out, but we've been working with them on that for some time now. So proven to be a little bit more challenging than I think any of us thought it would be. So as always, I always think, IT project, it'll be easy. And anytime that word even comes out of my mouth related to IT stuff, I want to just punch myself in the face because I know it's not going to be that way. So, so be patient. It will happen. Chauvin's now volunteered to do it. I said, don't do that. Good. Well, thank you all very much. If you have any other questions, I'll be here and feel free to ask, and I'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yep.
Next up, we have Drinking Water Standard section with Laura.
Got my digital notes today. So if anyone, I think everyone in the room, but if anyone online has never met me before, my name is Laura Higgins. I'm the section manager for the Drinking Water Standard section. So the three teams within our section are mainly focused on compliance for, a lot of the various drinking water rules. So some of the updates for our program areas include, one is a piece of information that we received yesterday. So just wanted to pass along that the TCEQ remediation division is going to be sending out some postcards to residents that are located within a mile of some wells that have been identified as contaminated. So these wells are spread out across the state, but we've got over 7,000 water systems in the state. It's pretty good chances that some of these wells might be located near a large water system. Of course, if any of the contaminated wells were associated to a water system, that water system has already been contacted directly. But just wanted to make you all aware in case you get any phone calls as a result of those postcards. But news related to our programs directly is one that we have new DBP web pages. So when you go to our public drinking water website on our TCEQ main page, you'll see chemicals and drinking water, a link to that. And you'll see right there at the top, there's like a link to, it says new right across it, for some new web pages related to our DBPs. And they're very nice. Mia's throwing those links in the chat for me. Thank you so much, Mia. But we've been doing a kind of major push on updating a lot of our websites. So the DBP pages are kind of one of our first stops, but they look spectacular. You know, I don't want to besmirch the name of our old web pages, but we're pretty proud of the updates that we've made to these new pages. So check them out. I hope you agree that the updates that we've made are good. One of the other updates for y'all is you may have noticed that EPA posted a proposed perchlorate rule on January 6th. So there is a 60-day comment period, and there's also going to be a public hearing that EPA is going to host on February 19th. But we're encouraging everyone, if you have comments, please provide those comments to EPA because it makes everything better. Some other updates, lead and copper. The lead and copper program is continuing to make progress, working with our contractor GEC on the baseline inventory that's going to be used for systems when they're submitting their baseline inventory under LCRI. Still don't have a concrete date on when that baseline inventory template is going to be available just yet, but we're still really well on track to have that available to everybody well in advance of that compliance due date. So maybe by April, I'll have something better to tell you guys, but if I can plug our web pages yet again, the LCRR web page is a great resource. That's where we're going to be posting all the latest and greatest as things come available to you guys. So once that template is available, we'll be putting all that information on the website. And I'm sure I'll be speaking about it at a DWAWG in the future. And then not to leave out our third team, our drinking water assessment team. They don't have any new rules that they need to let you guys know about, but they're working hard as always. Stephen mentioned that all of our accredited laboratories have been transitioning into CMDP. So as part of that transition, you know, there's things that come up that we're learning about that maybe we didn't realize when we started this journey. But just to let y'all know, we saw some questions about missing data in the chat. If there's things that arise, our programs are working closely with special functions to make sure that those get addressed. If we need to work with the contractor or EPA, we're working hard to identify those things as they arise and get those fixed for you guys. And then lastly, just to plug, upcoming later on in DWAWG, we've got a presentation from our lead testing in schools and childcare program about a new map feature that they've created. It's a really awesome tool, so I hope you guys stick around and hear from Brooke about the new map we've created. So that'll do it for us. Any questions online or in the room?
There was a question about getting an example of that contamination postcard and if we could share that with folks. So we'll work on that.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Next up, we have emergency preparedness and response section. Third.
Good morning, everyone. As always, it's good to see you here today. My name is Irina Kushnirsky, and I'm the section manager for emergency preparedness and response section. I don't have any program updates to share with you today. However, we are currently revising 2 documents, so I would like to give you a brief status update. So the first document is our RG 478, establishing and managing an effective cross-connection control program. So this document was last updated 10 years ago in 2016, so it's time to improve the document. The other one is TCEQ form for emergency preparedness, EPP emergency preparedness plan for Harris and 4 Bend counties. So this form was last updated in 2018. So revision for both documents are almost complete. We will finalize them and post on TCEQ website. And at the next DWAWG meeting, I will share with you those two documents and also will share with you links to their locations. So there will be two revised documents, Cross Connection Control Program and EPP for 2 counties, Harris and 4 Bend counties. That's all.
Excellent. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have our team leader for the Innovative Sources and Treatment team, Winchi, who is joining us virtually.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Winchi-san. I'm the team leader for the Innovative Sources and Treatment team. As you guys know, I was present last quarter meeting. We are the newly formed team, so I think our team is still under the development. But I just want to give a little bit update. I know our team have 2 major program. One is we call Texas Wastewater Optimization Program. I know this is not directly relevant to our drinking water, but we see they're increasing interest about the directly or indirectly, potable reuse. Especially folks consider, how do trade the wastewater treatment effluent for beneficial use, relate to the surface water treatment plant. So we receiving several interesting about this part. Second program we call, that's our main program related to the drinking water side, is for the innovative alternative treatment program. So right now we are actively recruit, qualified engineer to join our team, so we can really build our team and provide, technical assistance, for any question, concern or request you have related to the innovative or alternative treatment. But I want to mention right now, I think we do not have the, our team proxy box available for you to submit any requests. But I know many of you reach out to the PTRS, which we are closely collaborate with that session, their plan review team or their technical oversight review team related anything like we can get involved. So I think for the time being, we recommend you still reach out to PTRS, their proxy box for any question related to the innovative alternative treatment or any question related to the exception submittals. But we are actively collaborating with the session. So, we form a joint team to address your concern, make a scheduled meeting with you to talk about anything you are looking for, the detailed information. For example, like say, submittal requirement, pilot study protocol, something like that. So just in short is we are build our team and looking forward in the near future to provide any technical assistance to you. I think that's all I have for the short update, but if any question in the room or online, feel free to let me know. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Winchi. Any questions in the room? And nothing online. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have quality assurance update. And with us, we have Jessica Hoke online and Scott in the office here.
I think Jessica's going to take it online.
Yeah. Hey, y'all. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So my name is Jessica Hoke, and I'm here to give the QA update for myself and for Scott Delgado, who's there in office. So we only have a quick update. Basically, I would like to take this opportunity to provide information about an upcoming lab meeting that we'll be having next week. I went ahead and dropped the registration link into our chat. So this is a quarterly meeting that we have with the laboratories that are reporting data to the Public Water System Supervision Program. This is some kind of like a subcommittee of the DWAWG, primarily for your laboratories, but I highly encourage any of the public water systems to attend as well. So y'all are welcome to, get registered for the meeting and have an opportunity to see what we are talking with your labs about. I, again, encourage that you listen to what is being communicated to your labs. We'll be talking about CMDP, our QAPP, and also reporting for total coliforms and E. coli. Do y'all have any questions for me? for Scott.
Any questions in the room? No questions. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have a few final updates, and we'll have Gulai talk about one item real quick as soon as I can open the presentation.
It's okay. Good morning. I am Gulai Aki, one of the assistant deputy directors in the water supply division. For those of you who haven't seen me yet, I oversee two programs, plan and technical review section and emergency preparedness and response sections. They all provided updates. I'm just going to focus on the plan and technical review section today. So just spending a few minutes to talk about two related efforts for plan and technical review section. Both of them are going to benefit the agency and the regulated community over the near and longer term for sure. The first one is going to be an engineering stakeholder group. We haven't decided if it's going to be a stakeholder group or a subcommittee yet under DWAWG. And the second one is our work on distribution system form submittals, which is one of the early thought processes that we have gone into, trying to improve our processes internally for the plan and technical review section. And this is not intended to be a final point of like distributing these forms or anything. It's just that opening that forum for discussion on these distribution forms and submittals. And we are very interested in your feedback. We are seeing an increasing complexity and also the volume in engineering submittals across the state, particularly for the distribution systems. Distribution system submittals actually makes up a big portion of those submittals. Claire already talked about our challenges for the engineers that we have for the program. And this is like, this work is gonna help, hopefully, to be able to substantiate that experience with process efficiencies. And while we have checklists and guidance in place, we have heard often that they're not always easy to follow. And sometimes you guys don't even have or your engineering consulting firms don't even have the time to go through this checklist. They just prepare the submittals, plans, and specs, and send it our way. So we have realized that they are being used, but not as efficiently as we expect them to be used. And they are not always scaling well for the level of risk that we look for these submittals, and also the complexity doesn't apply across the board. Some of these submittals that comes from the engineers for the public water system are really complicated, and some of them are not. And we don't have custom-based submittal process. We are trying to do one-size-fits-all approach, and we are going to try to steer away from that. And these kind of submittals cause sometimes for the reviewers on the plan and technical review side to request for additional information, which we call it RFIs in short. And it causes a rework process. And within the timeframes that are established in our agency for reviewing these applications, we often don't have time to go through that back and forth and rework process. And we do see a real opportunity to be able to improve that clarity, efficiency, and consistency, both for submitters and also reviewers. And that's what led us to this concept. Before I go forward, I'm not going to show you the distribution forms today, but before I go forward, let me share some background information on how PTRS workload looks like right now. Here is a chart that shows the number of plan reviews received quarterly by fiscal year. As you can see, we have an increasing trend of submittals since 2023, and that trend does not seem to slow down or go down as this year goes well. As Texas grows and the infrastructure needing to grow to meet the demands, as Texas Water Development Board already talked about, a lot of funds coming our way.
The work is just supposed to increase. That's what our expectation is. So this trend is going to keep going up, and we are going to see more and more submittals as time goes on. And this is the main trigger that what we are looking for the coming year and the years to improve our processes for the reviews, and then also your submittal quality. Here's another chart that we have used for our executive management, showing the relative experience of staff over time. As you can tell, the number of years of experience of the plan review team has gone down dramatically from a cumulative experience of 150 years to almost to 50 years total. That's like a drop by a quite significant rate. And that's a downward trend. And we are constantly challenged with losing experienced engineers and trying to replace them and train them so that they can come up to speed in the review process. And trust me, it's not an easy process. As an engineer myself, just trying to understand and learn the rules and then apply them and implement them for the review process takes significant amount of time and investment for our team leaders and management. It takes about 2 years to bring them up to speed on all the rules and to be able to do a good review. So our idea is to form an engineer stakeholder group or a subcommittee under DWAWG. We are open to ideas and discussion on that. The intent of the group is to be able to include in the discussion the TCEQ plan and technical review section staff, and then also consulting engineer, because there are partners in submitting these high quality applications. It comes from them through you guys. You submit the information, and definitely public water system representatives being you being the participant in this group, and open that discussion of like how we can improve the checklist, guidances, or forms that we are going to try to create in the near future, and how we can improve our review process. And on the other side, how you can increase your submittal quality. Okay, I already talked about these. These are the goals for that engineering group. We do know that there's a real opportunity here to improve our processes on our side, but also you guys being, I don't know if in this group there are engineers, but being engineers on the other side and consulting firms that you work closely with, they do have the real world experience, and you guys are the operators, and you do know how your system works and what you need to improve your infrastructure. And that real world engineering and operator perspective is going to help us tremendously in this discussion. And also, we can, as I mentioned before, we can reduce the predictability of reduce the rework and increase the predictability of the reviews. When I say predictability of the reviews, you know, what to expect from a submittal and how we don't have to spend too much time trying to figure out what has been submitted and how much of that information is actually beneficial for our review process. And also, this group, I'm thinking, and we are starting just now, we are on the first step of doing that, these distribution forms. This group can serve as a review group for those draft tools that the PTA plan and technical review section is going to be developing, and also looking at those forms, providing or guidances and providing feedback. That could actually serve quite well to do a good job on our forms and finalizing them and publishing them for the broader audience. And long-term vision, this is just not a short-term, a temporary vision that we have. We would like to establish this relationship over a long time period, not just for months, it's for years, for the coming years, for the whole entire agency. And we would like to make these incremental targeted improvements. And we want to make that group a focus group for accomplishing that in a hopefully orderly fashion. And like I mentioned before, I already went through these, the submittal categorization. You know, right now we have quite a bit of checklists that plan and technical review section has on their website. but some of these checklists are not directly applicable for the submittal that the public water system wants to submit for review. And we would like to make a categorized submittal forms so that when you are submitting for a distribution system improvements, you're just going to a specific form. And that form actually guides you through the submittal, and you don't need to submit excessive or redundant information that we don't have to review in our review process. And then it actually provides standardization and clarity in our review process, and for you, no confusion what to submit, what not to submit. And also it provides upfront screening for us. We can just go through those forms in an easy way. And as I mentioned before, it reduces the back and forth. So draft distribution submittal categories. Let me find my notes for that one. I don't want to say anything that I'm not prepared for. So there are three types of, right now, we are receiving distribution submittals like all through the same checklist. And they have been historically treated as same type of application. But when we started looking through these distribution submittals, we have identified three different categories. One being a notification only submittals, and the other one is the less than 10% changes that are not considered significant. And there's a rule that talks about all of that in 29039. J3A, and there is a process for that, how to make that non-significant change determination, and then the full engineering submittals for higher risk or more substantial changes. Notification only submittals are going to be like probably no more than a page or two submittal, and you know that in chapter 290 there's a rule that talks about providing a notification to TCEQ if you're a political subdivision and you do have a way of getting those submittals, distribution-related submittals approved through your in-house engineering capacity. You do go through that review, and we don't have to do that. If you guys do that as a political subdivision, and we don't have to reapprove and re-review that submittal again. There are already political subdivisions who have been using that process. I'm not going to specifically refer to any of them right now, but that's going to be a couple of pages of form, and we are going to make it easy for that. All we need to do is just receive notification from them. The less than 10% changes, it's based on proposed new service connections versus the total existing service connections ratio. If that percentage is less than 10, then you don't have to submit, make a full submittal, and we don't have to review your submittal in detail. And the full submittal is going to be anything that's significant change, which is greater than 10%. So when we were making these forms, we were very intentional about a few things that I wanted to point out. We looked at what information reviewers actually need to make a determination versus what's routinely submitted, but not always necessary for our review purposes, to prevent the redundancy that I was talking about. And also we focused on risk-based thinking, definitely looked at our rules and provided the rules in the language, but made it more plain language so you know what exactly rule means when we ask for those things. And then also we try to steer the form in a way that it provides descriptive questions and yes and no questions where you can answer them simply and provide some narrative or additional information as needed. That will actually enable our reviewers to do self-screening, and then consultants to be able to more confidently identify the correct pathway to address the rule requirement. And final, as I mentioned, I brought up two different concepts here. One, an engineering stakeholder group that we are thinking about establishing in the near future. And then also the second one is the forums and guidances that we would like to create in collaboration with that engineering work group. For today, if you are interested in being a stakeholder or a participant to that group, send an email to our general division email box, pdws@tceq.texas.gov, or you can email me directly, my name, a lot of titles in there, it doesn't mean anything, gulay.aki@tceq.texas.gov, and we will go from there. The distribution forms are really going to come out in the near future. So if you're really interested in being a participant to look into the form and provide a feedback, just let us know ASAP. We are looking for, in a month or two implementation date for those. Any questions from the audience or from online?
There's a question, really like the idea of the engineering advisory group. Would this include both water and wastewater?
Oh, good question. I haven't gone that far. We will start with the water, I'm sure at some point in the future, because I'm also the ADD overseeing that innovative and alternative treatment resources team, Benji's team. It may come up and we may want to include them in the future as well, but let's start with the water and then we will go from there. We have a lot to do in the drinking water program for PTRS.
Any other questions?
All right, I like this. Thank you all.
Thanks, good luck. Before we move on, I also have Charlie Middleton with us here, who's going to give a brief update on the cross-connection control program. Charlie, if you can unmute.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So yeah, I'm Charlie Middleton. I'm standing in for Catherine McLaughlin, who runs the cross-connection program. She's on a work trip today. So I'll keep this fairly brief. I'm under Arena's section. I know she already covered the updates, which included a bit of the CrossCon guidance document, but that's one of our main projects at the moment, is getting that RG 478, establishing and managing an effective cross-connection control program, republished. The goal is for the next quarter, and that revision is going to include some rule clarifications, a new introductory section, and some updated references. We are also updating our BPAT test and maintenance form. These are going to be mainly layout changes, so we're moving the pass-fail box somewhere where it's more obvious, and changing the gauge calibration or verification statement to make it clearer, and adding one certification statement at the bottom for the BPAT tester to confirm that the information they're providing is true and correct. And on that front, I'd also like to briefly cover just a reminder, if anyone has their own BPAT testers, please make sure that everything you're putting on the form when you complete our forms is accurate, including the time. We have a fairly large complaint against one tester at the moment. One of the issues is someone's pulled up their previous test forms, and they have, say, 5 or 6 reports at different locations that were apparently tested at 1-minute intervals, and then it looks like they probably just submitted them all in bulk at once, but we need to see the time that test was actually completed, or it calls into question the accuracy of the whole form. So please make sure even those small details like that are correct. Other updates, we have 2 new staff members. We have Yeji Kang and Alison Getty, who are joining CrossCon, which should be great because there are only 3 of us, Catherine, Deborah Caballo, and me at the moment, dealing with all CrossCon calls. So hopefully that'll ease the load on Catherine a little bit. In terms of the calls we receive, we get a pretty high call volume, and cross-connection is a slightly broad area. So just to hopefully help people stop needing to be redirected. If you're calling, especially for BPAT testing, if you're calling about BPAT testing and you mean
Any questions for Charlie? No? Thank you, Charlie. Okay, it is almost 10:15 here. So we'll take a short break and come back at 10:30. And when we come back, Cindy Mendez from the city of Grand Prairie is going to give us a presentation on a case study in restoring water after a contamination shutdown.
Would it be possible to get a copy of that letter that you'll send to the people that live near the wells?
Yes.
Yeah, we're working on that. It's the remediation division sent it, so we need to reach out to them for a copy, but yeah, we'll work on that.
Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions? Okay, excellent. We'll come back here at 10:30 in 15 minutes, and we'll go from there. Thanks, everyone. We have Cindy Mendez with the city of Grand Prairie joining us, like I said, to talk about a case study in restoring water after a contamination shutdown. And Cindy is sharing her screen.
So, hi, my name's Cindy Mendez. I'm the Director of Public Health and Environmental Quality with the City of Grand Prairie. I started my career in Grand Prairie 28 years ago as the drinking water specialist. So I am a licensed water operator, and I used to hold a backflow tester license as well. So today I'm going to talk to you about our do not use order that occurred after a firefighting foam incident that we kind of just discussed briefly. and kind of what happened, how it happened, and how we responded to that incident. There we go. So just a little bit about City of Grand Prairie. We are right in the heart of the Metroplex, bordered by Dallas, Arlington, Irving. We're 81 square miles. We have a population of just over 215,000 now, still growing, with average about 28 MGDs and a maximum of about 48. We are a purchase water system. We purchase water from Fort Worth, Dallas, Midlothian, and Mansfield. And we have a few emergency demand wells as well. So just a little bit about our water system. We have 4 pressure planes, 3 pump stations, 7 elevated storage tanks, over 51,000 connections, and over 7,600 backflow devices. So I'm going to start out here. This is actually a picture of the fire that happened on September 3rd. At the time the fire happened, we weren't aware that there had been a fire. It was actually a pretty small fire. But one thing I do want you to take note of, because this is going to be important later, is this kind of bluish purple line that's coming from engine 3 that's connected to the FDC, the fire department connection, because that's going to be really important. So this fire happened about 1 o'clock in the afternoon in an industrial area. It's called the Great Southwest Industrial Area. And in that neighborhood, we also have industrial laundries. We have 2. We also have lots of other food manufacturers and other facilities that have surfactants. So the first call that the city received was at 4:54 in the afternoon, went to the water utility dispatch. An employee called to say she was getting foamy water out of the restroom, out of the bathroom. And so utility contacted my staff, and we went out, and thinking we may have had just a backflow event within the facility, because they do manufacture sun care products and after sun products. So once we determined that it was not coming from inside that facility, we started looking at other industrial facilities in this area. Now, of course, we started opening up hydrants as well and saw that there was foam coming out of our hydrants. And just to give you an idea, the first call happened down at the bottom, through to the earth. The location of the fire was a few blocks away, and as you can see, it's directly across from a water tower. So what happened was that we had microblaze that had entered our drinking water system from that fire engine 3 that had connected the FDC when the foam pump was on. Of course, you know, they were trying to pressurize the fire sprinkler system because it was an electronics warehouse. They decided to use foam. And once engine 3 foam pump was turned on, and to pressurize that fire sprinkler system, you know, the pressure was greater than the need for the water inside the facility, and it backflowed back into our distribution system. In addition to, I'm going to talk a little bit about this, the different backflow devices that were in place at the time of the thing. So let's go back to fire engine 3. Normally our engines, you know, they hook up to water, but when they turn on the foam pumps, certain ports are foam or water. And so as you can see, the foam discharge at the back of the engine, that's what was connected to the FDC. So people ask, well, was this a backflow event? Well, it was, because something backflowed into our water distribution system, but that fire line was protected at the riser, which happens a lot because it's way cheaper to put a backflow preventer inside a facility rather than putting it out in a vault. Actually, this happened in September of 2024. That device had recently been tested as part of its annual backflow inspection requirement. And it is a double check detector assembly, or a double check detector assembly, I guess I should say. But it did pass inspection prior to this incident and after this incident. Also in place was a single check valve that had been in place since the 80s. And obviously there's no way to test that. And so we think obviously that failed. And unfortunately, the FDC was connected upstream of the backflow preventer. So whatever entered that FDC was not protected by the backflow preventer that was installed to protect the fire system. So to give you an idea of what happened that day, here is the water main. There was that single check valve. There's also a check valve before the FDC, but in this case, there was a single check valve. You see the FDC and you see where the backflow preventer is for the sprinkler system. This meant that anything that was connected to the FDC could flow back into the water distribution system. Now, optional placement would have been to have the FDC connected downstream of the backflow preventer so that whatever was hooked into the FDC, the water, the foam, would have been protected by that backflow preventer on the riser. Now, obviously, the best place for this backflow preventer would have been to be at the meter in a vault, and this would have prevented this situation from happening. So now that you know what happened, I'm going to tell you, how we responded and what some of those requirements were. So that warehouse fire that happened at just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we weren't aware of this until later in the day. But our first complaint came in around 5. By the time staff was out there and we had enough utility crews on site, we started valving off that pressure plane and started obviously flushing the system. We did start at 7 o'clock, pretty immediately, our cross-connection survey in the neighborhood and begin flushing. And we also check with our water utility to look for any reverse flow from meters in the system, which can also indicate a backflow event. At 7 o'clock that evening, our EOC was activated. That's when I was notified that there was foam in the system. And luckily, all the city leadership, we were all in a council meeting. So one by one, I started pulling out different directors and we were able to get the EOC activated really quickly. 7:14, we notified the TCEQ of foam in the system. At this time, we were not aware that it was microblaze. At 8:53, we had a water advisory posted because obviously, it takes a minute to get that do not use advisory out. At 9 o'clock, we had been in touch with Friesen Nichols, our consultants, to help us trace the contamination. And about 8:30 or so, we knew about the fire that happened in the neighborhood, and that was obviously the primary suspect at that point. So by 10 o'clock, we had sampled the system and taken a sample of microblaze and took it to Armstrong Labs, which is a forensic laboratory that can compare samples and let us know if that is in fact what it was. So September 3rd, day one, this is just a picture to show you a sample from the drinking water and a sample from microblaze. And as you can see, the comparison here is based on the analytical data. The microblaze out product is found in the drinking water sample, obviously surfactants and fragrances. So we knew at that point what it was. However, TCEQ was not ready to say this is it for sure, because this is happening in an industrial area with a lot of potential backflow potential. So of course, you know, Wednesday morning, which was the morning after the event started taking place, already pressure was on, lots of social media news, interested, a lot of really crazy, untrue things also posted that we were dealing with. So, go back up. So day two really started in the, you know, hours after midnight. So at 2:11 a.m., we did post our do not use order to social media and to the media, news stations, etc., as required. In the morning, we delivered those samples to the laboratory that we just kind of talked about. In the morning, we did continue our cross-connection survey. We brought on Hardin and Associates to assist us with that because it is such a large area with so many backflow potentials. We started sampling across the entire system to check for chlorine residuals, pH, presence of foam, and odor. And then around 10 a.m., TCEQ was on site. They were concerned about stormwater, you know, the foam that we were discharging into our system, into the storm system, and concerned obviously about what was going on site. We did do a facility inspection of the facility where the fire was around 12:30 that day with the fire department and city staff. We did find foam there on site. So there's a lot of things happening all day. We were able to submit that evening a remediation and response plan to the TCEQ. And at 10:38 a.m. that night, our plan was approved so that we could start doing clearance sampling. So I will say TCEQ was such a great team player. We were meeting with them morning, noon, and night, and in between to try and get this issue resolved as quickly as possible. This is a picture from our Emergency Operations Center. At the time, our new EOC was being built, so we ended up just being upstairs in City Hall in one of our conference room. So as you can see from here, the battle rhythm, you know, we were in full emergency response mode at this point. So day two, we kind of talked about what we did during the day, but just so you can have a look of what our public notice looked like. And of course, this meant, and I'm going to kind of show you a map later, but it affected about a third of the city. We have 4 pressure planes, and we were able to only have the do not use order for 1 pressure plane that served about 60,000 people. However, any restaurants, daycares, etc., within that pressure plane had to be closed. So we were also sending out health inspectors to say, hey, you can't use the water, therefore you can't operate. School district closed. It affected Grand Prairie ISD, Arlington ISD, and then, of course, private schools as well. And it also affected, obviously, dialysis center and other type of medical facilities that needed water for their operations. So tracing the contamination, how do we know where it was? You know, obviously there's great hydraulic modeling that was used to trace the contaminant flow and identify the likely impacted areas. We really felt like it kind of stayed in that northern area, but out of abundance of caution, you know, we had to make sure we protected everybody in that pressure plane. And also, you know, we put into place a north to south flushing protocol to ensure that all the lines were being flushed, which, you know, we had a lot of data about our flushing and the contaminant flow. And we were able also to maintain pressure in that and what we call the 660 pressure plane by transferring water from the 720 pressure plane up into that pressure plane so that we didn't also have pressure issues in the system because we were flushing. That water tower that was close to the fire is a 2 million gallon elevated storage tank, and that was completely filled and drained twice and overflowed to ensure that the tank, any foam residual in the tank was also removed. So obviously fighting foam with flow, you know, so by day 2, we had already flushed 2.4 million gallons. And as you can see, this is what it looked like coming out of our hydrants. Not great. The picture to the left is me with a TCEQ Region 4 person out sampling. Once our sampling plan was approved after 10:30 p.m. on day 2, we immediately started sampling, doing the clearance sampling. So obviously this was a public relations nightmare, you know, making sure that we were communicating with the public, with the school districts, with the businesses was really important because, you know, there was plenty of headlines out there. Also, we started distributing bottled water on the first night. Once we knew we had a problem in our water system, we started using our city supply that the utility has immediately. And, you know, we were upstairs in City Hall and I could just look out the window and see we already had a drive-through there in front of City Hall. We moved that, but it was there that first night, and we were really lucky, got a lot of donations, purchased water, and I'll give you those kind of numbers here at the end. So we submitted our remediation plan to the TCEQ. By this time, we had flushed 4.5 million gallons within those, I say 3 days, but it was really 48 hours. And also, we, you know, provided an entire package of what we had done, where we had been sampling, what was our, what we were going to do based on the sampling results, which, you know, if we had positive hits, you know, what we were going to do then. So once we started sampling, we conducted this overnight. We started at 10:30 at night. We visited 12 sites across the distribution system, and not just within that pressure plane, but we also had some sampling stations just right outside of that pressure plane to ensure we didn't have bleed over that we weren't accounting for. And so the contaminant we were looking for was methylene blue activated substances. And in my career in drinking water, I've never heard of this, but the TCEQ decided to utilize this compound because 30% of microblaze out is MBAS. So they selected that for our clearance sampling. We also did other sampling as well. We were doing pH, chlorine residual, semi-volatiles. There was other sampling that was happening in conjunction, but for the clearance sampling, really our key indicator was going to be MBAS. Finding a lab that's certified for MBAS that had a quick turnaround time, now that was the real challenge. Here's just a little bit of information that you can read through on this surfactant if you are interested. So one of the problems with MBAS is that there is nitrate interference. And as you know, water systems contain nitrate. So that was a little scary. We did have one site that did have elevated MBAS, but also had nitrite. But luckily that was outside of our pressure zone. And so this just kind of shows you during the course of this event, we only had 3 sites where we had complaints of foamy water. And so those sites, some of our sampling sites were close to those complaint sites. Okay, so now we're at day 3, Thursday. And we are entering our resolution and clearance. So over the course of time, we had handed out over 600,000 bottles of water. And of course, staff was working around the clock, flushing, sampling, all the things that needed to be done. So we finished sampling that Wednesday night, Thursday morning at around 2:15 in the morning. And we delivered those samples to our municipal airport. We were lucky because our airport director is also a pilot and he has a plane. And he was able to fly those samples down to Corpus Christi, to Eurofins, to get those samples run for MBAS. There was not a lab in DFW area that could give us an 8-hour turnaround. You know, our goal was to bring our water system back online as quickly as possible. And so we had to worry about weight on that little private aircraft that took those samples to Corpus Christi. But he got them there. They got there around right after 8 in the morning, delivered to the lab. And our turnaround time on that, we got those lab results back at 5:36 p.m. And we submitted those results to the TCEQ, who had their toxicology department review those. They were not all non-detect. You know, there was some very small quantities found in the water, but below the surfactant secondary standard. And because of nitrite interference too, you know, you're probably, you know, not going to get a lot of non-detects. So at 7:38, we received approval from the TCEQ to lift the do not use order. 9 o'clock that night, we had a press conference at City Hall. 9:46, our public notice was rescinded. And then we began the next step, which was mandatory water flushing. And this was for our residents, commercial businesses within that pressure plane. Now, obviously, we can't require people to do this, but we started, you know, we kind of did it in phases throughout that pressure plane, because once people started flushing, you know, we started losing water levels in that tank. I guess the important thing on this is just to say we were able to restore water in about 45 hours from the time residents were notified of do not use. But And here's just some headlines from local papers. So what this really comes down to is the perfect storm. This was in an area of a lot of industrial facilities. It was a small fire with electronics. So what happened was when they pressurized that system, the fire sprinkler system, only one sprinkler head opened, which, you know, caused a lot of pressure, back pressure, that sent that water back into our distribution system. It was across the street from a water tower. As you can see, one of my staff members and people from that business were standing right outside where the fire was, and right across the street was that water tower, which, you know, was both filling and discharging at the time of that fire. You know, the FDC was placed upstream of the fire line backflow preventer, which I think most people are not aware. You know, a lot of these are from, you know, the 80s, early 90s, you know, even before some cities had backflow programs. And so knowing that this situation existed, you know, you'd have to go back and look at every fire backflow preventer fire line system in the city. And I will say, and also that single check at the street failed. So these are the things that kind of created this situation. But I will tell you, I felt really lucky after talking to a water system in Arkansas who still use firefighting foam that contained PFAS. So just think about how bad that situation really could have been. And so it wasn't the worst case scenario, but it was the perfect storm. So what worked well, you know, our operators acted fast to isolate the pressure plane so as to not impact our other pressure planes. We worked really hand in hand with the TCEQ to get through this. We had obviously consultants that were very valuable, getting them to do the modeling and assisting with sample collection and whatever we needed. You know, we were able to put together a remediation plan that was built on data. You know, we just kept communicating with the community. The mayor was very involved. And I think that kept people from panicking. So obviously the challenges were the intensive logistics, you know, getting everything done in such a short amount of time, coordinating, obviously, under pressure with many different partners, the pressure to restore safe water quickly and to maintain public trust. So here's some lessons for other utilities, and obviously it looks like the TCEQ is going to take up the mantle for looking at fire systems a little bit more closely and backflow on fire systems. But backflow device FDC placement matters. Now, you know, public health does a review, fire marshal's office does a review. We always ensure the FDC line is downstream of the backflow preventer, but you know, obviously there was a time when that wasn't happening, and so we know we have other industrial facilities out there or other buildings out there that were built before we started looking for these things. You need to engage your city emergency operations as soon as possible. To have everybody in the room was really important. To have the fire chief there and finding out about that fire was obviously really important. Make sure you contact TCEQ as soon as possible. You know, being prepared for rare contamination events. You know, we all do a lot of planning, but I don't know that we could have planned to figure out a lab that had a quick turnaround for MBAS, but it was really helpful to have be able to reach laboratory people after 5 o'clock at night when, you know, this happened. And so having those connections and phone numbers and relationships, those are all really important. Make sure you know who you can call before you need them. Make sure you're able, you know, we really relied on our IT department, our GIS, to get us lists of restaurants, childcare, dialysis centers, so that we can also ensure that we were making sure that people weren't, you know, drinking this water as well, and just communicate often. So that wraps up my presentation. I know Irina, I gave her a copy of the presentation. We're happy to share this. Obviously, it happened to our system. And after the event, I figured out that this has happened in a lot of other cities. It typically did not result in a do not use. Maybe it was in a residential neighborhood or whatever, but this has been happening. And unfortunately for us, it happened right across the street for a water tower, which made the spread, you know, a lot worse. So happy to share with anybody any of the information we have, including response plans and remediation plans. So thank you very much, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much, Cindy. That was very informative. We have a couple questions in the chat. The first one is a two-parter. Were there any reported adverse health effects, and do you have an estimated cost to the city for the event?
So we did have a few reports of like upset stomach. I mean, obviously, all of that kind of was filtered through our legal department. So I don't know necessarily what the outcome of that was, but we did not have any kind of intervention from Texas Department of State Health Services or anything. You know, whatever was experienced, to my knowledge, was very insignificant. Just basically, you know, stomach issues. As far as the total cost, you know, I can't say that yet. This did happen just over, you know, a year and a few months ago. However, there's still some lawsuits that are pending, you know, because obviously businesses had to close. So we still have lawsuits pending, but, you know, this is millions, not thousands.
Definitely. All right, let's see here. Next question was, I guess it's kind of a joint question. Is it possible to have a pre-developed sampling plan or SOP for selecting sites during a contamination event, or should systems expect this to be developed case by case? So interested on your thoughts on that one.
Right. I don't think you can pre-select them. Obviously, our consultants selected those with input from the TCEQ based on where different valves and were in the system and where complaints had been. So I don't know that you could predict where you might get complaints from. But also depended on chlorine residual pH, presence of foam, those kinds of things. So yeah, I don't know that could be predetermined.
Agreed. Karina, any other comments you want to have on that one?
No, but I would like to thank Cynthia. She agreed to share this presentation and present it to you. Thank you so much. I think we can learn from this. So I really like your last slide, like what should we know and how should we protect our system from this similar event. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
We have a question from Gary here.
Okay.
I was just going to ask, how did you, maybe I missed it, how did you know to sample for the MBAS?
That is what the TCEQ required us to sample for clearance, because that, you know, there's lots of surfactants, but microblaze out is 30% detected through MBAS. They use that methyl blue surfactant. So the TCEQ selected that for us.
Thank you.
Any other questions in the room? Yeah.
Hey, this is Philip Goodwin from the City of Houston. I want to say thank you again for sharing your experience with us. We're not always excited to come forward and talk about when things go wrong instead of when things go right, but these are also the events that we learn the most from by sharing them with each other. I'm sorry y'all had to go through that experience. Thank you so much for sharing it with us so we can all learn alongside you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. There was a few questions about sharing the presentation. I will post that on the webpage this afternoon. So if you want to go back and look at it, you'll definitely have it available for you. But I think that's all the questions we have.
And I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat if anybody wants to reach out about any other documents we might have related to this.
Thank you so much, Cindy. I appreciate your time. Great presentation. Next up, we're going to have Brooke joining us from the Lead Testing in Schools and Child Care program to talk about a new web viewer they have developed.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Brooke Kelchin. Thank you for listening to my presentation today. As James said, I am a part of the Lead Testing School and Child Care team here at TCEQ. I'm very excited to be presenting today because I'll be giving the GIS map viewer demonstration. I created this GIS map so it may be utilized as a tool by water systems across Texas to help them meet the upcoming LCRI requirements. So I'm going to share my screen and we can get into it and y'all can follow along. So let's see if this works good. All right. Are y'all able to see that well?
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to get started here on our lead testing and school and child care webpage. For others at home, easily to find this is just a Google search of TCEQ, the Lead Testing School and Child Care program, and you can find this page. But as you may know, this is a free statewide program to help eligible participants conduct voluntary sampling and analysis for lead and drinking water at their schools and child care facilities. Just something I wanted to talk about was I'm very excited about this program is because facilities that complete sampling through the program and detect lead can be provided with free filters, which are pitchers, inline, and faucets that are certified to remove lead and free fixtures. So that is very exciting that we have some remediation available to schools and child cares that do come up with lead in their testing results. Also on this page, you will see a link to our past webinars, so you can check that out. You can enroll in our program, nominate a facility, view our sample results here, or meet with our contractor to learn more about participating in the program. You'll find some more information down here and some FAQs, but what we are talking about today is under news and information and our participant map. So I'm going to click on this link here, the Public Water Systems Lead Testing in Schools and Child Care Facilities viewer. So let's go here. This is our landing page for the GIS viewer. So this viewer is to find schools for each public water service area and also includes the participants of the program, which are schools and child care facilities. And the purpose for this map was because all community water systems must submit a list of all schools and child care facilities they serve to TCEQ by November 1st, 2027. So you may use this viewer to help you create your list. So that is the goal for this project that I conducted. Down here below, you'll see a couple other links. Here I will point out that this is the LCRR and LCRI webpage that we have for TCEQ. Down below, you will find the school and child care section. And I'm going to point out this link that we have here, which is the Creating School and Child Care List. So that is the list I was just talking about. This is a resource we have available. So it describes what you need to have on here, some definitions, and down below we have a template that you can use. So you can fill this out after checking out our GIS map, which is also, I'll show you, is linked here on this web page. So we can just click this again for fun. Why not? Down below, you will see the user guide. I will be verbally explaining everything to y'all today. So whenever you check this out on your own, you can use this user guide, which will give you an overview and how to use the different pop-ups, search bars, and all the tools on there we have available. So let's go ahead and click the Go to the Map Viewer. All right, when you click on this, there will be a disclaimer. It's just saying that the points on this map do not represent on-ground survey. It just represents the approximate relative location of the property. So just agreeing that you understand that. Okay. And this is what the viewer looks like when you first come in here. As you can see, we have the user guide linked up here again and the public results portal. You'll see that throughout the map, so it'll be easy for you to find. Another thing is you can scroll in and out of the map using your mouse scroller. Over here, this home button kind of centers the map if you want to zoom in and out as well on this side, or use your Find My Location. I don't have that turned on right now, so if you can do that on your own, you can do that as well. Down here at the bottom, I'm going to open up this green arrow that says Expand. Close this so you can see it better. And this down here is all of our data tables for each of the 4 layers that we have on this map. So first is the LTSCC participating schools. So we have all the schools that have completed testing through our program on here, as well as all the child care facilities that have completed testing. This map is updated monthly with that information. So if you know a child care has already been sampled and it's not updated yet, it will happen the next month. But on these tables, you'll see that there is the operation number, facility name, physical address, facility type, the age served for that facility, and a number of initial outlets sampled. Once again, the public results portal is linked here, so you can just copy the name of your facility and search it on our results portal. Another thing with this is you can download. You can download this as a CSV or whatever you would like to review this data. Once again, we have the child care facilities that have all completed testing through our program. This is the same information as the schools, so you can see that here, and you can also download that. Next is the public water service areas. So I get this data straight from the Texas Water Development Board. So if you notice that your water service area is a little bit different these days, because as you can see, this was last updated from them in 2020. So you can just reach out to them and let them know that your boundary might have changed just a little bit. But on here, you'll see that we have the PWS name and the ID available, so you can find your own water system on this map. Lastly, we have the Texas schools data. So this is all the Texas public schools that are registered currently. This will be updated yearly in March, so we'll be having an update on this one here soon. But on this data table, we have a little bit more information. We have the district name, school number, school name, the address, their phone number, email address, the principal name, and the grade range and school type. So I added the contact information to this list so that if you see that this school has not been sampled yet, you can contact them and get them enrolled in the program. So we can close that up now. Another thing on here is you can use the search button for a town, city, or your public service area, and you can find that on there instead of just zooming in and out to find your spot. I'm going to explain the widgets over here from bottom to top. So this one right here is the print. So if you wanted to take a screenshot, print image of our map, you are definitely welcome to do that. There's different layouts you can choose and print that. It'll show up here in the results side. It takes a minute to do that, so we don't need to do that today, but if you want to on your own. Next is the bookmark. I really like this feature if you're looking at a couple different areas. Let's zoom in to San Antonio. So I'm going to bookmark this area and I'm going to name it over here, San Antonio. So if I were to be looking at this area next and I was like, oh, I lost my spot where I was looking at earlier, you can just click on this and it'll take you back over here. So that's just a fun, helpful tool as you're looking at multiple areas. We'll hit the home button to zoom out. Next is the base map gallery. So we can choose any different base map you would like to have as you look at this map. So there's lots of different things you can choose. I like the topographic. I think it just looks nice, so we'll just leave it as that. Next is our measurement tool. So if you want, you can measure different areas on our map. To stop the measurement, you just double click. Do a new measurement. You can do a polygon. So super fun to play around with. And it will show you the area down here and the perimeter as well. Working on some org chart. Next, we have our map layers. As you can see, the Texas schools is not clicked on yet. You see it doesn't have the check mark, but here we will check mark it to add it to the map. We just didn't originally have it on there because it was quite busy, as you can see with all those purple dots. But first we have the participating schools. They are the yellow school icon. The child care facilities are this green seesaw with 2 kids on it. And then, as I said, the schools are the purple dots. Water service areas is this blue polygon. So then this is the legend. I'll just keep this up for y'all and we can zoom in and look at an area. So it just takes a second to load sometimes. So you just got to give it a little bit of time. So as you zoom in, you'll start to see some names pop up for the facilities. So we can click on, let's click on this childcare facility, Little Munchins. As you can see, this table pops up and we can click on the results portal again. So that will look the same for the schools as well. And then this is what the schools data of all the schools in Texas look like. We'll have that contact information here again. But what I think the best thing about this is if you click on the water service area. So this is the City of Austin water and wastewater. So this will show that the schools that have completed lead testing is 74 out of 244. Child care facilities, we have 61. As I said, the child care facilities, we do not have that data on here. Actually, I don't think I said that yet. The child care facilities data was incompatible with our geocoding process. So we were unable to add that data to our map, which is something I would like to work on this year. But you can search all the child care facilities here at this link, which is also included here on our About. You can click it here. So there's that. But down below, you will find the participating schools for the Austin water and wastewater. So here's a list of all the schools. Here's a list of all the childcare facilities that have completed testing. And down below, this is the non-sampled schools. So we have a query set to differentiate the schools that have completed testing and not completed testing. So here you will have a list of all the schools that may need to be reached out to join our program and get enrolled, get some sampling done. So that's one of my favorite features about this. And we can close this out. And I will show you a couple different ways you can create your required list for your schools and child care list. First is the select widget. So here we will hit this select by data button. let's zoom in back. Sorry about that. Didn't need to zoom out. So we're going to click this water service area. I believe this is still the Austin Water and Wastewater. So now that it is selected, I'm going to hit apply because I want to have a list of all of these schools and child cares again. Apply. Down below it is loading. So once again, the same number, 6174, and then a total of schools, 244. I can download these lists here. So I can export this to CSV, which I downloaded one earlier. So we can just look at that so we don't have to wait for it to load. But this is what it would look like if you were to download. It has the same information as I showed y'all on the data tables, just a little bit extra as the XY coordinates. So you can also download this as a shape file. And if you wanted to, you can make your own map for your water system and keep track of everything that way. So there's many ways you can create your lists and maintain them. So this is one way to do that. And we can download each of those here. The next widget is our query widget. So we will do this one at a time. First is the child care facilities. We still have this highlighted, and I'm going to click apply. So 61 again, it ran that, and we can export that. So these are all the different ways you can export that information, add it to your own map, your own information, anything like that. So yeah, you can do that for each the participating schools and the Texas schools. So this is one of the many tools that you can use to help keep track of who's been sampled, who's not been sampled, and to create that list to send over to us by November 1st, 2027. And I am going to stop sharing my screen, and there we go. So please feel free to open up this map, play around with it, and let us know if you want to reach out to your schools and childcare facilities to get them promoted and enrolled in the program. Remember, this is a free program that will count towards compliance. So get those schools and childcare facilities enrolled so you can save money in the future. But I really appreciate y'all listening to my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it. And let me know if you have any questions at this time. And I will also put my email in the Teams chat and our Teams email. But thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Brooke. We have one question in the chat. Does the download include the date of sampling?
The date of sampling. It does not include the date of sampling. You can find that in our public results portal, though.
Any other questions for Brooke? Yes.
Austin Water, you can go ahead and email me that list. I'm just kidding. But that's a really cool tool. I appreciate the new features that I didn't expect there. So thank you for that. I had a question just because you mentioned, saving dollars by getting folks to enroll now, which we've been hard at work at. I'm curious about what that looks like after the rule goes into effect. Has TC, like your group or the larger group, been thinking about how water systems can continue to use this program alongside or in place of a water system run program that essentially redundant?
Yeah, so in the future, we will have set up a system of type of waiver for water systems to submit if they have their schools and childcares that have completed sampling through the program. We are still working on what that's exactly going to look like. So we will update everyone as soon as possible when we get that process laid out. But as of now, the program is still running. We're still trying to get all the schools and childcares in Texas enrolled. So that's the main goal. But Laura, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, yeah, that this program, I mean, the sampling done under the program should meet the requirements of the sampling that you need to complete over the 5-year period under LCRI. So we're hoping they're equivalent. So if it saves you money to do the sampling for free through LCSCC, then This is through the WIN grant, and I make the cheesy joke all the time that it's a win-win-win. Like,
yeah, I guess my concern is like if the rule is going to end up binding us to like necessarily set up our own program, even though we'd much rather keep pushing them.
I don't
blood testing.
Not in my interpretation. I don't think that you would be bound to that.
I like that preliminary response.
I'm Stacy from Fort Worth. I do have a question because we have a program for testing our child care facilities. And when you talk about the waiver, I guess my concern would be, would there be an option to put those schools or childcare in this portal, even if they're not tested through your program? Or how would that be? Because a lot of them would go to this portal to see if they tested, but if you tested under another program and you still have satisfied the requirements under the 3 Ts,
right?
What does that look like? Because we're testing now for some of our
we have a city requirement that we test.
Yeah, I think we'd have to play with that because right now this is kind of marketed as a feature of this program. So like testing done under y'all's program. We don't want to make it look like, we're taking credit for your sampling or vice versa. So we'd have to either, change some language to expand to include, that this is collective of all data collected or something like that.
Or even have a list of the schools that have, or child cares that have been waived.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Under your waiver process.
We would need to just kind of caveat that in some way.
Because I assume you would have a waiver that would allow the testing we've done under the 3 Ts for locations to be waived.
I think that's how it's written in the rule. It's just that, the waiver is applicable to anybody that's done testing under 3 Ts, which in our minds, that's part of the SEC program. But if other programs exist, then that could be the same requirements.
And I do think some of the challenge is going to be with the registered and licensed in home.
Right.
Because they have never had to do this before and they don't know what those results are going to look like.
Yeah.
And it could be, just the idea of them not knowing. So we will be doing some outreach with them, but we also have a field kit that palate tests that we're going to be showing them your test results. Maybe look okay. Right. So let's go through this process.
Right.
Yeah. But it may be easier for them to say, no, we would prefer to go through you.
Maybe. I am always really kind of astonished about, that some people don't want to know or don't want to receive the help, even if it's free or.
I don't think it's that they don't want to know. I think they're afraid of what the outcome could be.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Fear's a big deal.
Yeah, great comment. We have another question in the chat. Has the program been open to private schools?
The program is not open to private schools currently. It's for public schools only right now.
Good question.
So that's another concern, Laura. Yeah, there's so many charter schools popping up every day.
Right.
That,
and public schools are closing.
Yeah, so this waiver process could help us with that as well.
Yeah.
Good question.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Morua with the City of Dallas Water Department. So if we are prepared to put the bill for the private school, they be incorporated this system or not?
I think you're asking a similar question to Stacy that, like if you had your own program,
Not my own program, but more to say pay for the same people that are doing this.
Sure. I mean, you're conducting your own sample.
Right.
I think that's something that we would have to work with and I'd talk to Brooke about. I mean, she's got her own plans, I think, on ways to improve the map as it currently is. But you're right, as we get more data, as people conduct more sampling, right now we're reflecting the sampling that's been conducted, but as we go forward, there's going to be more to display. So we'll discuss how we can share that, because I think we all agree that, visualizing that data is really powerful and helpful for people to see what's been done.
One more question in the chat here. Can you guys host another training on using the viewer tool? And I think we can probably record something or use this one.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think we should do some type of recording, put it on our webinars, YouTube, and we can share that with the public. So we will hopefully be having a webinar in the spring. So be tuned in to hear more about that.
But certainly, just in the meantime, this meeting is recorded and will be on YouTube.
Yeah.
If anyone would like to watch it back later.
That's very true. Thank you.
My quick question to double check. When did you say the school data and the childcare data refreshes annually in March? Or was
Yes, yeah. So I'll have the All Schools Texas data refreshed here in March soon. We sadly were not able to add all of the childcare facilities of Texas on our map. It was just the geocoding was not working out. So that's something I'm working with our GIS team here at TCEQ to hopefully improve and add to our map. So yes, that will be updated here soon.
Any other questions for Brooke? No, Brooke, thank you so much.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Next up, we have Jackie Saldana, the team lead joining us, and she's going to talk to us briefly about the RG 659 update, which I will.
Hello, I'm Jackie Saldana, team leader for the Prairie data management team. Updating this document was really a group effort. We worked with the OCD regional offices, several sections across water supply division, our legal group. So it took many sections, divisions, and hands to get this thing updated. One notable thing we did is we just kind of resorted the way the sections. So all of resources and citations was kind of moved to the bottom of the document so that it's there if you need it, but it's not up at the front. So we kind of made the document flow better. We went through and just did a lot of looking at the language and kind of clarifying a lot of the terms. And then we also, one of the biggest changes we also made is we wanted to really clarify like connection count at non-transient, non-community systems and transient systems. As far as it's about what the number of buildings for connections rather than all the appurtenances and all the different like bathrooms and break rooms and things like that. So we clarified those sorts of things. We added in the connection counting of RV parks connected to community water systems from SB 594. And we actually added a new example for that as well at the end of all the examples. And we also went through and updated a lot of the helpful hints and added some additional helpful hints to help people count their connections and population. I think that was the major things that we did. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. And so, major thing is we turned into an actual regulatory guidance now. It was just a kind of informal document, so now it is an actual regulatory guidance. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions?
Sure. Does connection definition also include apartment units?
So apartments, that is still by unit, and it does have like examples of that in there as well.
Any other questions?
All right, it was a quick update.
Thanks, Jackie. And I believe Mia has posted that in the chat as well. So you have that link.
And it's been posted to the website.
Yeah, Mia
put the link in there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mia.
Yes. Yeah, the link to the website is on there. Last but not least, we have just another update on drinking water reviewer, and I believe Rylan is joining us, and it's going to do another quick walkthrough for us on our new tool to replace drinking water.
Hello. So I'm also going to pick on City of Austin, I think, because they're going to show up first in the alphabet.
The only reason.
So I'm just doing a simple search just by name. When we pull them up, you can see all the simple information. Pretty much, I don't think any of this has really changed. number of connections, population, activity, date, and status. You can see the owner information and contact information below that. Sources of water and the cells too. This information has, before the last time we went through this information wasn't displaying correctly, but it should be displaying correctly now. See, all the other kind of basic water system information should all be displaying here now. If we go to the facilities, and pull up here, we just have a simple list of all the facilities. Here's a flow of all the facilities below that. On the flow, you can pull up a flow diagram and it'll, it's pretty small, but it'll show if we have the flow set up in Siduous, it will display that in here. If we pull up any of the facilities, it'll tell you the facility type, the status. One request I have into the contractor now is to have the activity status reason code, because I know for a lot of wells, that is where if it's like abandoned or capped or whatever will be displayed. It'll also display any associated sample points. If we have locational data in here, whenever the contractor gets done with that Google Map link, this is where that will show up, and it'll just show up as a link to Google Maps. And then also any flow or measures, any indicators that we have associated to this facility will show up below there. Sample points, pretty self-explanatory. You can export all this information to Excel through here. Let's see. Service line inventories. Both of these are displaying the same information, so we'll probably actually get rid of this pie chart one, since it doesn't really kind of make sense because it's not 257,000% for non-lead. So we'll probably just have this simple graph layout, or spreadsheet layout, sorry. As far as samples, there we go. So these are the coliform samples. You can see here's just a regular list. You can see here's a routine, and then there's looks like a repeat there. You can always filter these if you just pull up the list and decide, oh, I only want to see routines. You could just go in and just change this to, routine or whatever you want, honestly. If you want to see the actual sample information, you can just click the sample report and it'll pull up all this, the lab used, and the collection address, any of the field results. And then of course here it's just the E. coli and coliform. You can download this as a PDF as well. If we go back to chemical samples, limit this down a little bit, but it will display basically the same information, just slightly different sample type. So you can see lab ID, sample type, sample points. And if we pull up the result or the sample details, it'll show the same basic report, just with whatever analytes are associated to what you search for. And again, you can download this. One request we have now is to add the field results to these sample types as well. I know some people use those. And then this is just showing the results for these samples in a slightly different way. So you can see this, sorry, You can see this 37153. Here are your DBP results for 37153. And it just shows the detection value and all the analyte codes and all that fun information. If we go to sample schedules, here you can see coliform sample schedule. They're on a monthly, like everybody. One thing for lead and copper, on their 6-month schedules in here under sample frequency, it'll show up as every 6 months. And for some people, that's been confusing. It doesn't mean that you're on a 6-month indefinitely. It just means you're on a 6-month until you've satisfied those two 6-month requirements. You can see some of that just by clicking on the details, and it'll show you more information. You know, if it's, say, on a seasonal sort of sample or collection period, it'll give you the begin and end dates in here, how many samples are required. Let's go back. If we go to compliance schedules, this is where you can see like CCR or any of these other ones. Boil water notices will show up here too. And if you expand, it'll just show any associated activities with that and whether or not they were on time or late or whatever. Let's see if we go to violations. I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know when the last time Austin had a violation was. There we go. So they had this turbidity violation. You can see here it's been returned to compliance. One thing we've seen is that for some older violations, it's not catching all the return to compliance enforcement actions. So that's a request that we need to get into the contractor. If we expand, we can see whatever enforcement actions were taken. So.
Hey, Ryan, I was just going to mention, so we took down the little meter thing while we get that part of that sorted out, because they don't, for a time we used a resolution code that wasn't the official EPA resolution code. And so it didn't, this software is built to work with EPA's codes and not ours. And so we got to get that updated, either their code or our codes. And in the interim, we elected to take it down because we're getting so many calls from systems that were like, why is it yellow? We're resolved, everything's done. And it's like, well, yes, but it doesn't recognize it. So for the time being, and I'd be interested in hearing from you all your feedback on that thing anyway. And also, while I've interrupted Ryland's great presentation, just say, you know, we added that Sidwith's at TCEQ .texas.gov email address. So if you have specific things you're looking at, you're like, oh, I liked it this way before, I want it this way, or whatever. We do have a lot of flexibility with kind of adjusting how things look. There are some things that we have to work with the contractor to add. And so that's a little bit more challenging. It takes more time. But if it's a thing that we can adjust, you know, we're happy to take those things under consideration and figure out how we can make it easier for y'all to use. So, hey, go ahead, Ryland. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. The enforcement actions tab is basically going to display the same information except you will see the enforcement action and whatever violations it is associated to. See, site visits. There isn't that much information that gets displayed in here, but it will show, like, here's sanitary survey. You can expand it out if there's anything. There isn't. And it'll tell you the parties present. So. That's pretty much it. I want to try and leave some time for questions.
Yes, there's 2 questions, Rylan. More questions now. Can you go to facilities and show how to search for a specific location and then maybe how to filter out inactive facilities as well?
Sure. So you can change this just by going to filter and or if we only wanted to filter to inactive, this should be displaying all the things that are available. So hopefully this is actually working. Oops. Guess not.
You can take a look at that later.
So, I mean, you can still sort it. For some reason, it's not allowing me to filter it. So we'll have to put in a ticket on that. Sorry, what was the other question? The other part of that question?
I guess for names, you can filter the same way if you have a specific.
Yeah, you can search. You can have it contains or does not contain, or maybe it starts with, or like if you want to look up all your Turner's crossings or whatever, you could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is, can you show how to search by individual analytes without having to filter through the analyte group?
Sure. So if we go to samples, it would be under this analyte section here. Again, that should be displaying stuff too.
But normally you would just be able to type in like nitrate or something like that.
Right. In the same way, like if I do this over here under analyte group, it displays stuff. This should also be doing that as well. So we'll have to put in a ticket for that as well. Sorry.
Mitchell, I think we answered your question about how to filter for a specific location without scrolling, but if not, let us know. Okay. 2 questions in the room. Smith Weber.
Is this where we will go if the CCR viewer is still available?
Yes.
Yeah. So what will, I don't think it's up here right now, but what will happen is rather than having the generator that we have now, we will populate a CCR here for you all to grab and to edit and modify. So I'm not, Jake, do you know exactly where that will be, that they can find it?
I'm not sure. It'll probably be, assuming in the menu. But we're going to do the plan is to do the 2025 CCR that y'all will be sending out in this year through Drinking Water Viewer.
Okay.
For the 2025 due in July 2026.
Yeah.
I always want to specify that because I find it, yeah, it's who I'm responsible for, and I still find it confusing. So.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, so
And actually, just to add a clarification, I believe that anybody that hasn't done it up to this point, it's my understanding that we're going to generate and put those out on the website now so that folks are onto the tools so that folks will be able to access those. So I don't know where we're at with that, but yeah. I've been working with Amanda on it. So
gotcha. Okay, Alfonso.
Yes, thank you. So on the same, following up on that previous question on looking for analytes, Water Wash, I was able to pull the whole list of analytes with the code number and kind of click on it and search just for specific. And I mean, that went back, I don't know how far, but that was pretty neat. And also sometimes we get questions about if we ever tested for this or that, and all the data was there. I didn't see it on that one, but like you said, maybe she are mixing it, but having the whole list of what's being tested for each discipline.
Yeah, it should be the same. It's the same data source. So we'll get a ticket and make sure that analyte code list is populating, and it should generate that full list.
And I'm pretty sure it's somewhere. I just couldn't find it, but the list of acronyms. Sometimes there's like, what is this?
Sure. Rylan, can you click on one of where I guess those acronym lists or the question marks that kind of explain those? Oh, there you go. So usually in the top right area, if you see a little question mark, there's a list of those abbreviations. Thanks, Rylan.
Yep, that's multiple boxes of information, so you may have to click in multiple places.
Sure. But yeah, just look for the question mark icon.
Yeah, we worked pretty hard on getting this cleaned up and accurate.
Gotcha. Okay, Mitchell, I think you were looking for a total coliform sample, so you found it by looking at the collection address. Rylan, can you do a quick demo of where they can find those collection addresses for samples?
Sure. So you can see one of the places right here. One thing to actually keep in mind about this is if you're at 100% zoomed in, it's going to show a lot less. And so it might not even show up depending on your resolution size and all that stuff. And so I zoomed out just so I could see more of this information, but here's collection address here. And you can do a sort and a filter based on that information. The other place is in the details. It'll show collection address here as well.
Okay. Any other questions for Rylan? I think you're good, Rylan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I may just reiterate, like if you find stuff, we can't fix it if you don't tell us about it. So send it to that SIDWIS, it's swdis@tceq.texas.gov. If you'll send us your thoughts, your complaints, your suggestions, we'll take them under consideration and try and get things to display in a way that is helpful to you all.
Thank you, Stephen. I put that email in the chat, and it should be on that webpage as well. All right. I believe that takes us to the end of the meeting. Any open questions, comments? No? Okay, excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. I know we had a packed agenda today, and we finished in right at noon. Quick reminder, our next meeting again, it's April 14th of 2026. For the presentations today, like Cindy's, We will be putting that presentation up on the webpage, hopefully this afternoon. A recording of this presentation will be available on YouTube, typically within about 2 weeks. Though if you are registered online, you should receive a notification that the recording is available once it's done. And then you have the meeting chat as well. With that, we'll go ahead and close out. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.